Well, James, a defeat, the first one in October for you. Do you think you deserve that today?
I'm trying to analyse the game. I think you consider a good side, and and I think throughout the game they were quite composed and quite fit. You could see at the end the body language was strong and they stuck to the task well. But when you step back and look at the chances, James Hooper could have scored for us early on the counter-attack. Jimmy Ball had a great chance. We had other chances. So it's a fairly even game in that regard. But it's whoever who takes their chance. You know, don't always get out a game what you deserve. You get out of a game what you can take. And they've done that to Darlington, done it to Harrogate and Salford. So they've done it again today.
Do you feel full-time status as opposed to counties part-time status? Do you think that played a part today or not?
I think when you look at the final 15 minutes, perhaps the physical strength and they looked, perhaps our lads put so much energy in, and don't get me wrong, we don't help ourselves because we turn the ball over too easily and too cheaply. But there was a period in the game where I felt we really asked questions of them, and we deserved to get a goal before theirs and after their goal. You could argue that. Again, it's all about if you get an opportunity to be full-time, you will be fitter, you will be stronger, you'll have a little bit more cuter way. You can work on lots more aspects of your game. So, and I think I don't think it's about finances as such, but imagine that Kidderminster and Fyle will be, as two full-time sides, will be amongst the top 3 or 4. And you look at the National League, and you look at the teams that are full-time there, and you might get the odd one like Braintree last year who got in the playoffs, but it's very unusual. Generally, you'll see the stronger full-time sides at the top and the weaker part-time sides at the bottom. So, in terms of where we want to go as a club, we do need to be moving towards full-time football, because you may need to be full-time to get out of this division, or semi-full-time. And have players on a Monday morning before a Tuesday game. But like I said, it's ultimately that you could argue that might have been a difference today in terms of the way that they played their shape. But when you're part-time side, you have to keep things a little bit simpler, and you're relying on the efficiency of the players. And I was really disappointed today because the goal came around from a hesitation to fulfil the game plan. We knew that they had floating wingers, and when you let a floating winger come across the front of your back 4, you're always in the chance that the midfielders are overloaded and they get behind you. And Max hesitated and going with 7. It's called Gary Stop for the problem, and then when the cross comes in, Max is at the back post and doesn't do one or the other. He doesn't stick with his man and restrict the flow, and then he's not there when the ball comes into his area of the defence. But again, these are the hesitations you get because these players have been brought up in playing a very British game. Left back stays in position, a right back stays in position. If people float off you, you kind of let them go. And we were, I have to say, we were brilliantly exploiting that with the likes of Pilkington and Tommy Rowe. I said to them, look, if you go into this space, they'll come. But if you start roaming into the 10 role or across they won't go with you. So you'll be able to create overloads. If the full back does come, then you know that our full backs have got the opportunity to extend wide. So when we were full-time, we were able to play the way that they played today and create that opportunity for our floating wingers and our full-backs to extend. But at the moment, we're having to keep our game a little bit simpler and be defensively well organised and try to have a threat on the counter-attack and a threat from set plays. And I think we've seen all that today. We were fairly solid for most of the game, restricted them. We had a chance with James Hooper on the counter-attack when they were wide open. And our set plays, especially from John Marsden, were particularly good, and if we had sort of got ourselves in a position where we got in front of people, we might have got the goal. And so a little bit disappointed with the result because the effort we put in and the organisation we put into the game deserved a little bit more than that.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I know you were conscious of the bookings that Josh Amos and Danny Lloyd were on, and then towards the end of even today's game, you've taken Lewis Montrose off. You were worried about the suspensions. Do you regret that at all, or was it still the right decision?
Well, I always felt I was going to get asked that question, but if Max Cartwright comes across the front and stops his man getting the ball and James Hooper takes that one, perhaps Danny Lloyd would have took that goal at James Hooper didn't take, and perhaps our left-footed set plays would have been better. But the one thing that we can look forward to now is that we have a fully fit Josh Amos and a Danny Lloyd available for next Saturday's game. And I think that extra energy, that extra quality will certainly pay dividends for us next week. If we had played today and lost 1-0 and Danny Lloyd got a booking, I'd be criticised for playing him, or if a player got injured. So the devil you do, devil you don't.
Yeah.
But in terms of the mantra today to the players was, he who hesitates fails. And when we hesitated to apply the game plan as instructed, we failed. The set play that they nearly scored from and the opportunity they did score from was just down to us being reluctant to see it out. You know, fullbacks don't want to go with the men across to the other side of the pitch, but that's why they create problems for you. So, yeah, I'll put my hand up and say, perhaps we would have been better with Josh, perhaps we would have been better with Danny, but the fans would be delighted to see them on the team sheet next week.
In terms of the month as a whole, though, 4 wins out of 5, you haven't really too many complaints about the way things have gone in recent weeks, really?
No. I think we've well deserved the results we've got. You know, there's been times when we've been outplayed, whether it be Salford in the first half and they got the goal and deserved to. We have to be quicker to adapt to the opposition, and you have to trust me in terms of the game plan, because ultimately, if we're a very strong side defensively, we will create and score, and we will have a threat from set plays, and that's that principle of 20% of what you work on has 80% effect. And as a part-time club, we have to focus totally on that 20% that has the 80% effect, and it's worked really well for us. We've been beaten by a good side today, and they took their chance, we didn't, and that's to be perhaps that's the difference between full-time and part-time. So what we'll have a challenge now when we play Woking, who are slightly different. They're a higher level side, but they're part-time, so it'll be interesting to see how our players perform against them.
It will be interesting. I know you've got a lot of store and a lot of importance on next weekend, but Woking have as well, and looking at their website, they're giving free entry to their fans who travel on the coaches, and they move fixtures around, and it's a massive game for them as well. They were beaten again today, so it's going to be a really interesting encounter, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting because again, although it was, I'm not sure if they'd class it as a local derby, but I'm sure there's not far distance from my time that when we went down to Boreham Wood, it wouldn't be far away from Woking. But the one thing is that they are conceding on the road, losing games on the road, but they are scoring in every game, which is an interesting stat. They're a big, strong physical side, typical of what you get in the National League generally. And they'll be competitive, and fair play to their club. Because when we went to Boreham Wood last year, I remember their chairman saying that how important staying up was to them, and therefore the FA Cup was candy floss, right. And which I've never heard a chairman say. But I think Woking understand the value of this in terms of perhaps raising morale, providing some finance for the manager, getting that 1 or 2 players that can get them out of where they are. They know that after Saturday they'll be focusing very strongly on the league form. But like I said, I'm delighted because it's a long journey for their fans, so it's an incredible gesture on their behalf to pay for it and to give them free travel. And maybe if we're in the second round, you can have a chat with the board about giving our lads free travel to wherever we go.
I'll ask the question. Well done today.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.